Welcome to the Album Nerds Podcast with your hosts, Don and Dude.
1984. It's Album Nerds Podcast. I'm Dude. I got Don with me. We're about to explore 1984. How you feel about that, Don?
Wax on, wax off. It was 1984, right? I think.
Yeah. I believe Ghostbusters. What's the other big one? At least for me, a little kid.
Beverly Hills Cop.
I wanted to see it. I wasn't allowed to, as well as Purple Rain was the other one I wasn't allowed to see. All right, so this is the Album Nerds Podcast. We love albums, the album format, talking about them, and we got a great show for you today. We're continuing our I Love the 80s journey, and we're landing at 1984. Don and I are each going to discuss an album, but we were limited to some degree. Country and metal were the two genres that the Wheel of Musical Discovery chose for us. Then, of course, Don will be asking us a deep question. We'll have some shout-outs to some other albums and album-related items we're digging, and then we'll spin the Wheel of Musical Discovery once again to learn what kind of albums we'll be discovering in 1985. But that's for next time. This week, it's all about
1984. That's what I'm talking about.
Right, VCRs blink 12 o'clock beside stacks of rented action flicks and teen comedies, while glossy magazines sell a life of big hair, bigger shoulders, and gleaming cars. On the radio, country gets more slick while simultaneously exploring its roots, and heavy metal goes glam. Today, one of us spins a country record from 1984, and the other cranks a heavy metal classic from that same year. So button up that pearl snap shirt, slide on your gel bracelet, and cuddle up with your favorite Cabbage Patch Kid or Transformer. This is 1984.
cuddling up with the Transformer would be dangerous.
Yes, they were sharp.
You could poke an eye out. Don't do it. So we had quite a few considerations, and the other genres. It's always sad to not be able to pick from the other genres. I get it. We're trying to challenge ourselves here a little bit. So in the country realm, what albums were you thinking about, Don?
Well, so there's another album from Alabama called Roll On, which was very successful. A Willie Nelson called City of New Orleans, which I thought about. Another classic guy, Merle Haggard, It's All in the Game. And then one interesting one that I considered was the band Exile, which you might know them from the 70s song I Want to Kiss You All Over, or whatever that was called.
Is that the name of it?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I want to kiss you all over.
That one, yeah.
And over and again.
Well, they went country, and actually, it sounds pretty good.
Till the night closes in. Like that?
Till the night closes in. Yes.
I did a country treatment on
yes.
mine. So on the metal side of things, we've talked about Metallica so many times, and part of me thinks we should have anyway. Ride the Lightning.
Yeah.
Like that's their second album, and I feel like that's where they really started to figure it out. But because we've talked about them so exhaustively in the last couple of months,
yeah, we'll get to it soon.
We tied our hands there. Don, you were mentioning the Scorpions, Love at First Sting with Hurricane on it. Mm-hmm. I've never really thought of them as metal, I guess, but maybe they are. Yeah,
they came up on a lot of lists of metal albums from that year. But at the time, I remember watching MTV and just feeling like it was very heavy and what I considered to be heavy metal. But then when you compare it to other stuff, it feels maybe more like of that 70s hard rock vibe.
Yeah. And of course, there's another Iron Maiden album here in 1984. We previously talked about them on our 1980 episode with their debut album. This one's called Power Slave. It's their fifth studio album, their third featuring Bruce Dickinson as the lead singer. He previously was a singer for the band Samson, not Saxon, as I previously stated.
Yes.
I made a mistake on our 1980 show. Wanted to get that straight. Merciful Fate. That's when it gets all devilly. Don't break the oath. I was afraid to listen to that. I was in college. Some friends of mine were Merciful Fate listeners, and we're listening to it. And this kid was a Catholic as well. And during the music blasting, the crucifix fell off the wall, and I was like, "I'm done. I'm not doing that."
That's awesome.
It could have been anything, but I was out. Judas Priest, Defenders of the Faith. That was another big banger from Judas Priest. But those are not the directions we went. So the picks are in. Our proton packs are fully charged. Let's get to our cha-cha-cha choices.
You choose me?
My country pick from the year 1984 comes from the mother and daughter duo, the Judds. It's their first full-length release called Why Not Me, released in October of that year. They're from Kentucky. As Wynonna, got older into her teen years, her mother, put the plan together to make them, country music stars. It took a little while, but they signed to RCA Records in 1983. They had a couple of hits, and again, this Why Not Me is their first full-length collection. Let's start off with the opening cut, Why Not Me?
Why not me on a rainy day? Why not me to love your cares away? Why not me?
So Why Not Me was written by Harlan Howard, Sonny Throckmorton, and Brent Maher. I guess they decided that they needed a up-tempo song, with a strong groove to open up the album.
I remember being struck at the time. This is when my parents started playing around with country music, and I was like, mother, daughter, and I'm sure that Naomi at the time was probably late 30s or 40 or something like that, and I guess I just thought that there weren't parents,
right?
And
you couldn't imagine being in a group with your parents.
No,
Yeah.
Not even like the Partridge Family or.
Yeah, it seems like a very square idea.
Yes. Yes.
So Wynonna generally handles the lead vocals on most tracks, and Naomi provides the backing vocals. But they do have very nice harmonies together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that it was necessary for them to be a duo. Perhaps maybe more from the perspective of Wynonna needing the support, needing someone that cares about her and can, maybe it was that, because Wynonna went on to have a huge solo career as well. So
yeah, but it certainly helped, I think, with the marketing of it, the novelty of a mother-daughter group. Also, it's kind of the vibe of country music, where it is a family. It's the Carter family and so on. So the lyrics are, about romantic longing and anger or desperation. It's kind of asking a bunch of questions and saying, why not me?
I remember poking fun at this as a kid to my parents. Going, why are they singing about romance? They're mother and daughter, but that's clearly not. That's just a kid being an ass, which I am still a specialist in. But yeah, I mean, this is a great sounding song, great opener. It really brings you in, and it feels comfy and straightforward and nice. Like it sets a tone for like, this is going to be a pleasant listen. You're not going to be offended by anything here. Yeah.
And it's missing some of that extra polish that country music just had, throughout the 70s and into the 80s.
Yeah. Well, this was the era when, you had George Strait emerging and this sort of neo-traditional thing was coming in. Like we had, the 70s had some big stuff, big overblown pop type country, but they also had the outlaw stuff. So, it's not to say that 70s country was like some waste.
No. Oh, no, absolutely.
Or anything. Yeah. It just things started shifting back to this more stripped down sound.
Yep. All right, well, here's another cut from the album. This is Girls' Night Out.
It's a girls' night out. Honey, there ain't no doubt. I'm gonna dance every dance till the boys go home. Well, it's
My understanding, and I remember watching a made-for-TV biopic on them because my parents were such fans, but they struggled, right? I mean, and I feel like sometimes songs like this have that sort of blue collar vibe of, you spend all day putting, caps on toothpaste tubes at the factory or whatever, and time to go let loose and forget all your troubles and that kind of stuff. So this one definitely clicks.
Yeah. And the musical treatment, I think, captures that. It feels like something that would be played in a honky tonk. It's got the slide guitar and a little piano in there. Again, missing the big orchestral swells and stuff that, was in a lot of country music, leading up to this point. But yeah, I mean, a cool song of, working class independence, working hard and having fun. Girls just want to have fun.
Yeah, the theme is still there. And this is kind of that the personality. This is country music, so there's a different aesthetic, of course, but Cyndi Lauper, as we talked about last time, was like, this is who I am, and take it or leave it. And I feel like there's a similar attitude here, just in a different form.
Absolutely. All right. Was there a track you wanted to explore?
Yes, sir. I'm not sure why. I think it's more the cadence of it. There's something interesting about the vocal cadence. This one's called Love is Alive.
Love is a man and he's mine. Love is alive and at our breakfast table every day.
So this one was written by Kent Robbins, and just the arrangement, the really nice vocals from Wynonna in particular, and really those harmonies are important to setting kind of cornerstones and changing from bridges to verses and choruses. And
yeah, her vocals are particularly like tender on this one, whereas I think on other songs she's got kind of more of a harsher or like a forceful delivery, and she proves she can do it this way.
As a kid to my parents, again, I picked on how she would do the growl thing, and I was like, that's for R&B songs, but I think it's now as a grown-up, very effective, and I do like that side of her too. But yes, you're right, this is more tender, and it's kind of friendship, independence, family. It's not just romance, love, sitting around the breakfast table, in the morning, foundation, that kind of stuff. It's nice.
Yeah, this album reminded me a lot of that. You remember the trio record we did, that Linda Ronstadt, Emmylou Harris, and Dolly Parton? This song in particular feels like a song they would have done, and it's got the harmonies. It's got that that same sort of neo-traditional vibe, which is, I like a lot.
Yeah. So again, the Judds, because maybe the mother-daughter thing, there was a family's important string throughout, and the messages of resilience and faith and family and all of that come through on all the tracks, but this one in particular.
All right. Well, we come to the final track of the album. This is called Mama, He's Crazy.
Mama, he's crazy, crazy over me, and in my life.
So Mama, He's Crazy actually appeared on their first EP, the Wynonna and Naomi EP. The song was written by Kenny Odell, and apparently inspired by a soap opera his wife was watching, right?
I buy it.
Yeah. But it came from a scene where the daughter tells her mother that her rancher boyfriend threatened to blow up oil wells, saying, Mama, he's crazy. So I don't know if that was Dallas or what, but.
I don't know. I mean, this didn't go where I thought it did, because it definitely has like a Tammy Wynette sort of sound to it.
Sure.
And the Mama, he's crazy. I thought it was going to go into some kind of abuse thing, and I was really relieved when it was about he'll do the stupidest stuff because he loves me so much.
Yeah.
And also because Mom is there, it does add something to that. If Wynonna was just singing that, it'd be like, okay, she's singing to her mom, but her mom being there and part of the song, part of the conversation, if you will, they leveraged that relationship very nicely in moments like this. And it's a great way to close out the album.
Yeah, they don't really tackle serious subject matters like Reba McEntire was doing, at the time, right. Prostitution and stuff like that. You're not really, faced with those kinds of things here.
Yeah, they keep it light for the most part, and I think that is to their benefit.
Yeah, me too. So let's rewind and reflect on the Judds' Why Not Me? I'll begin with my clickbait headline. From Kentucky Holler to Mall Food Court, daughter and ma bring country home to the 80s. Yeah. I mean, it's funny when you're listening to country music, it doesn't sound like the 80s to me.
Oh, I mean, what you just said, though, like made me, I was picturing a picnic table with one of those checkered cloths on it and,
set up
maybe some fried chicken being set up and potato salad and stuff.
Yeah,
so
I like that.
I think that's kind of, what they're going for. It just occurred to me, do you think Why Not Me could have also been about making it in country music?
Yeah, I think that was sort of I think that was part of the appeal of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I've enjoyed this album quite a bit, harmony driven, which I'm a sucker for. Definitely like a precursor to what like the Dixie Chicks were doing later.
Yeah. I could see that being a spiritual successor to this.
Yeah. And, you've got that, some of the more traditional instruments, the fiddle and the pedal steel. And it's just kind of classic country songwriting or storytelling, love, heartbreak, struggle for independence, that kind of stuff.
But it's also not super twangy. So
right, that's true.
I think anybody could enjoy this just for its nice laid back family vibes. And
that's true.
It just feels good.
Yes.
Like a blankie.
Good.
My clickbait headline to describe Why Not Me? When country music was changing, the Judds chose harmony and won. A cohesive, emotionally grounded record, broad appeal, rooted in tradition, but approachable for even modern listeners today. I think this could come out and no one would bat an eye that it sounded old or anything like that. No wasted space. The tracks all kind of support the album's thematic tapestry of love and identity and family and reflection and all that stuff. So, well done, Judds.
Killer to filler. I think there's lots of good tracks on the album. There's some more traditional sounding ones like Bye Bye Baby Blues and Endless Sleep. I think they do a good job approaching those.
Endless Sleep was kind of rockabilly vibes. However, I felt like it didn't go far enough. I would have liked at least some moments in it where they really picked up the pace on it, because it's kind of like a mid-tempo rockabilly instead of busting out. Just for a bridge or something would have been cool. But
yeah, I think you could definitely say that. They could use a track that really, is a boot stomper or something.
Well, this was pre-Boot Scoot Boogie. So like if this had been made in that era, they probably would have addressed that on one of the tracks. I liked My Baby's Gone.
Yes.
Bluesy and a little grittier, soulful almost. But yeah, I think that one stands out, as well as Mr. Pain. I just like the name. Again, great vocal chemistry on it. About as dangerous as it gets on the record.
Naomi gets co-writing credit on that with Kent Robbins. I should mention, so most of these songs are written by others. I think as the Judds moved on, they start to write more of their own stuff, particularly Wynonna. Mm-hmm. Is it Wynonna or Wynonna? I feel like it's Wynonna.
I think it depends on what state you're from.
That's probably true.
No, I wouldn't say there's any filler here. I mean, there are stronger songs and weaker songs, but they all hold up, and it's just a pleasant album to listen to. So there's no moments where I was taken out of it and thinking, oh my God,
right,
move on. So I
agree. So the production, it was produced by Brent Maher. And he intentionally, kept the arrangement sparse and acoustic. He wanted to make sure he focused on the guitar and vocals and those harmonies. And I think it was very successful. And I think this paves the way for a lot of sort of that neo-traditional country that gets big in this period.
Production wise, for me, like the harmonies are front and center, which as they should be, like you said, and it kind of lets the lyrics, the voices, the storytelling, even though these are not in-depth story songs, with fictional characters or any of that stuff, the conversational nature of it sometimes comes through where it's mother to daughter, and I think that's where its charm lies. What did you think about replayability here? You going back?
Yeah, I think I will. I haven't spent any time with them before, so I might start to check out some of the other records as well. But this seems like a good place to start, and I'll definitely play it again.
I have their second one on vinyl, but I don't have this one. I'll keep an eye out because I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
I'm not going to tell my parents, though. They were right and I was wrong. So clearly I'll be listening again.
Yeah, we were young, so there was always the sort of the coolness factor or you know, things just being,
Or if your parents thought it was cool, then that's, it's hitting that age where it's like, then it must not be.
All right. The legacy, I think it's along with George Strait, and you could throw Ricky Skaggs in there, I think, and Randy Travis and Reba McEntire. You've got this neo-traditional movement, which, I mean, I think thank God for it. I think.
That's what gave birth to the Garth Brookses and all of that stuff a few years later. 10 years down the line.
And it is remembered as one of the strongest debut albums by a country artist, and I do think this is kind of a classic country album now.
Yeah, I think it had the lasting impact. It just really represents the sound of country past for them at the time, and then the 1980s present, and even the future. Like today's, like I said earlier, this holds up as just a solid country album without it feeling dated at all.
Yes. Why Not Me helped reset country's compass towards front porch stories and close harmony warmth in the middle of a very loud decade. How does it sound to you in 2026? Give it a listen and let us know.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
It's time again for Deep Questions by Don. All right, we're going to go extra deep in 1984. What significant music-related developments or events occurred in 1984?
Well, some say that 1984 is like the best year in music history for emerging artists and pop rock, and I agree to an extent. I mean, we had Prince's Purple Rain, Madonna Like a Virgin, Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA, Tina Turner's Private Dancer, Van Halen 1984. All of those albums pushed their respective genres and subgenres forward, influencing other bands and artists to take the same path. So
yeah, and the music industry was in a bit of a slump in the late 70s and early 80s. And I mean, this year in particular really, turned things around, and probably, with like Thriller before that.
Right.
And with the help of MTV, this, music just became such a huge part of our culture.
Yeah. And all the albums I just mentioned, and we've talked about this before, 1 billion singles from them. These albums dominated for years. And that was a new thing, I think, too.
Oh, yeah. They milked them for all they were worth.
Yeah.
Well, another significant development was the first Video Music Awards by MTV. It was September 14th, 1984 at Radio City Music Hall, hosted by Dan Aykroyd and Bette Midler.
Wow.
Yeah.
At the time, Dan Aykroyd was cool, but I remember thinking, like, Bette Midler, that's like
I don't even
my mom or something.
Yeah. Wasn't that around the time she did the duet with Mick Jagger? You remember that? They did Beast of Burden. There was a video for that.
No, I don't.
Okay.
No.
Do you happen to remember what won Video of the Year?
We talked about it on a show because we talked about the album, but I don't remember.
Yeah, it was The Cars You Might Think.
Yes,
which was a bit of thinking, man, I was kind of surprised that one, although I remember that video being all over the place with him, the animation.
It was the digital effects. Yeah. All I remember from that, like, again, I never saw that show. I did see clips when I was at anyone's house that had cable, and I remember didn't Madonna do Like a Virgin on there?
Yeah, she was in a wedding dress, and she's crawling all over the floor.
That's what I remember.
Yeah, but it really, for a while, it was like the young person's award show. Yeah. And when I remember watching the VMAs, and then you'd watch the Grammys or the American Music Awards or the Oscars. It just felt like old people stuff. And now, I think like the Oscars, all those presentations are a bit more like this. I guess get the young people back. But yeah, the VMAs are still going on, even though MTV doesn't play videos, which is weird.
Yes, it is, but I'm glad it's still out there.
All right. What are some other significant music-related moments or developments in 1984? Let us know on our social media, like Instagram and Facebook at Album Nerds.
So, metal, 1984. Metallica, Ride the Lightning. No. I'm sorry. It's Ratt with, no offense to, to Ratt Truthers. Ratt with Out of the Cellar.
It's not Out the Cellar?
I don't think so. That does sound pretty hip, though, Don. So Ratt emerged from the Los Angeles glam metal scene, known for tight riffs, melodic hooks, MTV-ready visuals. You know, they had the look and the swagger. Formed in the late 1970s as Mickey Ratt, I assume that was a take on Mickey Mouse, like the
Clever.
nasty version. The core lineup solidified by 83 was Stephen Pearcy, the singer, Warren DeMartini, and Robin Crosby on guitars, John Crucier on bass, and Bobby Blotzer on drums. You know, they worked the club scene, Whiskey A Go-Go and all those in LA, Sunset Strip. Their flashy guitar-driven sound, complete with the teased hair and a little bit of leather, not too much, embodied that Sunset Strip aesthetic and launched them into the mainstream. Now, apparently, Van Halen set the template for them. Stephen Pearcy says that he talked to them about what steps they took. How did they promote themselves? How did they get where they were? And he tried to walk that path to get them to the top as well. So the album, Out of the Cellar, is their first full-length on Atlantic Records, released March 27, 1984. Blends high-energy rockers with melodic choruses, exploring nightlife, desire, rebellion. You know the drill. But it's really about the guitars, as far as I'm concerned. So why don't we jump into the opening track, Wanted Man. I wanted to make sure I get some guitar in there. I think it's important. And Stephen Pearcy sounds really good there as well. So Wanted Man is, of course, the opener. Immediately establishes Ratt's tough kind of street level persona, but there's also this outlaw, rogue, Western theme here. I mean, at one point they're the Rat Gang and they're going to hang somebody. So some cowboy stuff in there, which did seem to proliferate throughout. I mean, Wanted Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi a few years later. Like, I think that cowboy aesthetic is so out of place with the LA club scene, but also fits with these. They're supposed to be outlaws, you know.
Absolutely.
Nicely done there. It's kind of mid-tempo, great riffs, dual guitar interplay between Crosby and DeMartini, gritty vocals, and that whole anti-hero narrative does set the atmosphere of, you know, for the time, danger and whatnot. What were your thoughts on Wanted Man?
Yeah, it's a solid track and a solid opener. It's just funny how not heavy the stuff seems, you know, by today's standards. But it certainly was at the time. You know, this would have been probably off-putting to.
It was dangerous.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I think, you know, like a lot of metal albums, you know, from this era, you know, the guitars are kind of the stars of the show. You know, I guess I had watched or I had listened to Billy Corgan's podcast where he had Pearcy on.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
And talking about how he and Crosby decided to let kind of DeMartini. So he was really coming into his own as a guitarist. They let him sort of do like the lead, you know, standout, you know, licks. And it really sounds good on this track in particular.
All right. So there was a big single that drove this album to be triple platinum eventually. And it's the only one I really knew until streaming services allowed me to go listen to these records I had only heard bits and pieces of when I was a youngster. This one is Round and Round. So this one was written by Stephen Pearcy, Robin Crosby, and Warren the Martini, I'm going to call him. It's kind of their signature anthem, infectious riff, driving rhythm, and nice catchy chorus.
It really feels like the prototypical sort of glam metal song of that era.
Yeah. It feels like this kind of set the hey Poison it hasn't come yet. Hey, you know, these bands that came that next wave, you know, only a couple years later, probably playing in the clubs at the same time. But bands like Ratt and Motley Crue are the ones that got the record labels to start signing everybody on the Sunset Strip. But it channels the raw energy of that whole movement. The guitars are snarly and punchy. it's the lyrics, and this era in heavy music, lyrics were tools. I don't feel like they were as important.
No.
So, you listen to these songs and lyrically things are kind of flat, but that wasn't what people were looking for here. It was the sound. It was the dangerous heavy metal sound that was driving this movement at the time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this song is kind of about the metaphor of the cycle of love and lust and their lifestyle. It just goes round and round, and it's just this kind of crazy time is what I've always gathered from it.
Yeah, I think that guitar solo is DeMartini. That I feel like that solo then, because is the solo in like every glam metal song that follows.
Yeah, I mean, you were an MTV guy.
Yeah.
Do you remember the video?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it was kind of silly. They're in this mansion, and famous comedian from years before, Milton Berle, was in it and dressed as different characters, different women. But I remember thinking that rare times I saw it, that it reminded me of Twisted Sister's aesthetic as well. And their album, Stay Hungry, was out, I believe, this year as well, which we talked about on the show before, and I love that album. Probably more than this one, to be honest. Lyrically, it's more interesting, but this one, guitar-wise and sonically, is more interesting to me than the Twisted Sister.
I think perhaps they intentionally tried to use humor in videos to make this stuff more palatable to people, make it seem less scary or whatever.
Maybe. I don't know. At the time, it felt like it was made for us, and I'm not sure how to qualify or quantify that. Like, that's just what it felt like. It felt like they wouldn't get it, being my parents or the older people.
Right. Sure.
But I'm sure they got it just fine. All right, Don, was there a particular track that caught your attention?
Yeah, I like the cut. I think it actually opened side B, Lack of Communication.
I think that might be the best track on the album, honestly.
Definitely reminds me of Judas Priest a lot.
Yeah, and I like that lack of that part of this time in rock and metal. Those sort of forceful group chorus things and phrases I think are just so cool.
Yeah. So that one was written by bassist is it Juan Croucier and vocalist Steve Piercy. I think Croucier originally wrote the lyrics and Piercy kind of stepped in and changed it up a little bit.
To a point where I saw in like an old Behind the Music, Juan was saying that the song no longer made sense. But I don't know.
I wonder if he and the rest of the band felt Piercy whipped.
Oh, God. Wow. Sorry. Yikes. I mean, they may have felt like Steven was, although he was a founder and leader of the band, that maybe he was overstepping.
Mm-hmm. That's a better way to put it, I think.
Yes, it is. It's a little more complex thematically, I think. And I think that's probably maybe Steven felt like it needed to be simplified some.
It seems like it's more about society than about a relationship.
Right. And the lack of communication between people and countries, and it was about more than your girlfriend won't call you back or whatever. All right, so moving on to the closing track. This one's called Scene of the Crime. Wanted to make sure and get those dual guitars in there. It's got some swagger and sleaze. And the only thing, I was a little disappointed that the Scene of the Crime wasn't maybe a dark crime story or something. I think it was about cheating, meeting, finding your girlfriend with another guy or whatever. And the use of the word bitch was quite shocking at the time.
Yeah. But there's a lot of shredding in this song. Actually, I like the opening riff kind of reminded me of AC/DC or something like that. But yeah, I actually think this ended up being my favorite track on the album.
Really?
Despite the harsh language.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I would say it's more moody. There's more ambiance, I guess.
Yeah, I don't love it for the lyrical content or anything, but I think I just like the energy of it and I guess I just, kind of get hypnotized by the dual guitars.
And it's a good closer in that way, where what they do best was highlighted in several sections of the song. Okay, so why don't we rewind and reflect on Ratt Out of the Cellar. All right, to kick off my overall vibe on Ratt Out of the Cellar, share my clickbait headline. Ratt's Out of the Cellar because metal didn't need poetry in '84. It needed hooks and riffs. High energy, hook-laden, riff-laden, dangerous sounding for the time, cohesive in tone and execution, and they try to balance the aggressive riffs with some melodic accessibility. Like I said, not much to grab onto lyrically, but that wasn't the point. Metal was still under construction.
Yep. All right, well, my clickbait headline is Ratt leave the Hollywood sewer for MTV Penthouse. This is, really is that sound that I picture coming from the Stripped, Motley Crue, Dokken,
Wasp.
Oh yeah, Wasp. Yeah, but this is so much. I mean, that Wasp record was so crass. And this one is just meant for I think mainstream appeal, right? And the video, and it was marketable to women, I think, in a way that other metal records weren't at the time. I think
perhaps. So, killer to filler, how do you feel about these? Were there any that stuck out to you as good or bad? Or
I liked Back for More, The Morning After. I think I actually liked Side B a lot.
Yeah, me too.
My least favorite cut is maybe She Wants Money.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, one that I really liked was I'm Insane.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of self-declared madness and chaotic thoughts, but Crosby was the writer on this one, Robin Crosby, and the composition is short and fast and aggressive, and it's got a punky energy to it. It kind of sets it apart from the others. What do you think of You're in Trouble, second track?
It was kind of funky. Like I guess I like the bass line to it and stuff, but yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite cut.
Yeah, at first I thought it was about bladder infections. You're in trouble, but turned out, it wasn't dark enough for me. Like I felt like they missed the mark a little bit on it. The riffs were the salvation, but lyrically it just kind of fell flat for me, and so I would say it was probably one of the weakest tracks. But again, these are 36 minutes of music. It's nothing is bad enough to ruin the record.
No.
Production wise, Beau Hill, it's crisp, it's punchy, it's clean without dulling the energy. And this doesn't suffer as badly as some other albums from the era. I do hear the bass. I do hear some low end, the sound. On the production sound on this did help define the 80s glam metal sonics, I think.
Yeah, so the album was produced by Beau Hill. Yeah. I guess Hill had to work with Piercy a lot on his vocals. Hill really, drilled into him, hey, you gotta sing it this way, or you gotta have some melody here. So I guess that was part of the challenge of the album, but it works out. The vocals sound fine.
Yeah.
They do a great job of highlighting the two guitars.
Yeah. And both guitar players at this point were excellent. It's hard to tell who's who at any given time, but it sounds great. Yeah, so replayability for you? You going back? Was this new for you?
It actually was. I hadn't listened to the whole album before. I like it. I mean, I've grown to enjoy this sound, and I think this is a perfect example of what that era sounded like. Yeah,
definitely replayable for this guy. Legacy-wise, I feel like this album helped define the 80s metal sound, influenced countless bands in LA's scene and beyond. Round and Round, all by itself, really remains emblematic of the era, and kind of bridging the underground, like the Metallica type stuff, and the mainstream success of bands like Motley Crue and things. So,
yeah, it really was like the prototype, I think, because it's different from the Quiet Riot and the Twisted Sister and the Judas Priest. This is kind of more the sound of the late 80s, at least in my mind.
So Out of the Cellar captured the energy and excess of 1984, helping define Glam metal's rise with razor-sharp riffs and the sing-along hooks. Polished yet gritty, and a milestone or mile marker, depending on your taste, in metal's evolution. Check it out.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
All right. So on the way back from killing the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, did you did you listen to anything, and did you dig anything?
Come on, Don. You know that it was really about Zool, not the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Right.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this on our end of the year show of an album I was looking forward to. It's Megadeth and their self-titled album. Megadeth was formed in 1983 by Dave Mustaine after leaving Metallica, well-established metal band. And the album Megadeth is their 17th and supposed final studio album, released January 23rd of 2026, produced by Dave Mustaine and Chris Rakestraw. It blends classic thrash intensity, reflective themes. It gets into a little bit of, the end of the road for the band. Let's listen to a little bit of The Last Note.
Let this last note never die.
There are moments on this album that are looking back, and you don't hear that a lot in metal, being honest, that it's always been about danger and politics and all that stuff, and it's kind of cool to hear it be about my life is changing.
Yeah. Makes me a little sad that this actually could be the last note.
Yeah, I know. I don't like that happening. It makes me think about my last notes, and that's not cool. Not cool, Dave. But there is a reimagined Ride the Lightning version. Like, he was in on writing that originally, apparently. So he does his own version of that song, which if we had talked about Ride the Lightning by Metallica, we would have heard. Okay, so next up, during this I Love the 80s series, I've been trying to pick an album from my record collection that is from the year we're talking about. So to change speeds a little bit here, we're going with Tina Turner and her 1984 album, Private Dancer. Powerhouse singer, mega comeback in her 40s from having been with her ex-husband,
which seems
Turner.
so old at the time.
I know, but I just thought she was a cool rock lady. I had no idea that she was older than my parents. But yeah, she reshaped herself. It also changed the R&B rock crossover vibes. So why don't we listen to a little bit of Better Be Good to Me. The strength, the confidence, like that's what I think I was drawn to at the time as a young kid, and even now it's just like, yes, ma'am. Yeah. Whatever you say.
Yeah, I remember being surprised that like Mark Knopfler and the guys from Dire Straits had contributed to the album.
There were some covers on it. I think most of them were not written by Tina Turner, but she was the kind of singer that didn't matter. Yeah. She was making everything her own. Yeah,
and I remember it being, because I think there was like a bunch of different producers on the album, but it still is a pretty cohesive record.
Yeah, we did talk about it on the show before, and consensus, awesome.
Yes.
What do you got, Don?
Well, a group I've spent a little time with, although sometimes they're a bit too much for me as far as like the electronic dance stuff goes, but a group called PVA. They're an English electronic sort of experimental trio. The vocalists Ella Harris, Josh Baxter, and Louis Satchel.
Seychelles.
Yeah, sure. Somebody described it as electro clash and dance punk.
That's trying too hard.
Yeah. This is their second studio album, and it's called No More Like This. And here's a track called Moon.
Was this called Moon because there's a butt on the album cover?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It could be. It is an interesting album cover.
Good thing it wasn't pressed ham.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you moon someone and smash your butt against the window.
Yeah.
Car window, typically.
Yeah, so I try to kind of keep up with the sound and see what's going on in the sort of electronica realm. But something non-electronic, the group Squeeze, right, who've been around forever. Mm-hmm. They have a new album coming out March 6th. The two main songwriters in Squeeze are Chris Difford and Glenn Tilbrook. But this is actually an interesting concept. So these are songs that they wrote back when they were teens, but they were just like too young and had no money. So they never actually ended up recording these songs.
Okay.
So they're finally recording them now. And it's like a concept album basically set in this fictional nightclub called Trixie's. And that's the name of the album.
Cool.
But here's a track called You Get the Feeling.
That's more melodic than I was expecting here.
I mean, they've had like a revolving lineup, you know. I mean, Paul Carrick, you know, used to be in the band and stuff, but the core group are those two songwriters, Difford and Tilbrook, but kind of known for kind of clever lyrical phrases and stuff like that, which I always enjoyed. And probably their biggest song is Tempted, right? Tempted by the fruit of...
I haven't listened to enough Squeeze. I have a couple of the records, but I haven't spent enough time with them. I should do that.
So what are you digging? Let us know. Join us on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Album Nerds.
It will be a discovery of extraordinary value.
Well, here we are. It's about time on the show when I'm reminded of the words of Antonio Salieri, played by F. Murray Abraham in 1984's Amadeus. All I remember about that movie is Amadeus running around going, hee hee
Yes.
hee all the time. And Antonio Salieri said this. This was a music I had never heard, filled with such longing, such unfulfillable longing. It seemed to me that I was hearing the voice of God.
Yes.
You like the way I said God?
I did.
With that in mind, let's bring out that wheel of musical discovery to see what kind of albums we'll be discovering in 1985.
Next time, we continue our I Love the 80s series with 1985. Bigger sounds, smoother grooves, and serious swagger lead the way as we dive into rock and R&B, spotlighting two albums that show the 80s in full, confident stride.
R&B and rock.
Interesting. 85.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We will see what we can find.
Maybe some Whitney or some Sade or some, I don't know.
Luther.
Some Luther. Ooh, wait, we've never done Luther.
We'll see.
All right, well, what's your favorite records from 1985 and 1984? What else are you listening to? Email us at podcast@albumnerds.com or follow us on Instagram and other social media at Album Nerds. And you can visit albumnerds.com to listen to all 324 episodes. And the best way to support the show is to share it. Please subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast app. And tell your friends.
And your enemies. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Album Nerds podcast. We'll see you next time in 1985.
All right, so this TV show debuted in 1984. There is more to life than vinyl records, so take a chance and play cassettes.
There were times lost a dream or
Yes,
two.
very good. What was it?
It was Who's the Boss, man?
Hey, yo, oh wait.
Jonathan, Mona, Samantha.
Who was the boss?
I think it was Angela.
Literally was.
All right, we'll catch you next time where I'm the boss in 1985. Donatan.
Done it.